The challenges here were quite specific. One, a small area, about 7 or 8 acres, with the kind of material that's behind me standing on it. Trying to contain this material inside this small area when you have tree heights of 180, 160 feet to maybe even close to 200 feet is extremely hard unless you have absolute control.
The biggest challenge was protecting the RMA stream buffer down at the bottom of the unit, and then also protecting soil quality because the unit was so steep. So those are the two biggest challenges that they had.
We kind of set up maybe 5 or 6 goals that we really wanted him to obtain here during our operation. Full suspension over the buffer, protection of the 20-year-old reproduction, protection of course, the small fish stream, and of course, protection of the soils on the ground.
Roseburg Resources does really care about adhering to the Forest Practices Act, and I think they do try to hire the best people. They have a lot of ground, at least in my area, that is difficult, steep. There's a lot of issues with streams, and they really are trying to do the best they can.
We use some high stumps, especially down in the lower area there, so we can kind of build a wall as we filled some of this bigger material here to kind of keep everything out of it. So we had a kind of a picket fence of higher stumps here to try to keep this bigger wood here out of the buffer.
So they did a great job with getting trees on the ground, directional following, and kept soil from being damaged, degraded, which in the end kept runoff from going into the RMA.
Even afterwards, when we had the trees down, is bucking the material to length and size to full suspend over the top of the buffer. So we could maintain it. All the material here on this side of the buffer had to be fully suspended to go to the landing floor. You're always afraid of gravity. Once you start severing these big pieces and we get higher up here on the hillside, we're always afraid that something's going to leave that's 34 feet long and it's going to go into the buffer at about 50 or 100 miles an hour. There are some real challenges on trying to make all this full suspension work while keeping some kind of safety containment in line where everybody gets to go home. And of course the yarder we picked one of the 171 Medills. It's worth about $1 million. The distance is about 1,320 feet here to the back end, to 1,500 in the long corner. So anyway, you're full suspending here for almost 1,000 feet or so here until you run out of lift and start dragging onto the far side under the landing. Yes, lots of 10 to 14 ton payloads going over the skyline here with full suspension, and of course with the motorized carriages and everything else, we're even much heavier than that. We're probably in the 15 to 16 tons, maybe even 18 tons at certain times here.
If you talk to Harold Rao, clearly there's some pride in working for that company and trying to do the best job that they can. So you see that, it really shows through, and it definitely showed through on this project.
There's a lot of people that can harvest, but to harvest certain challenges like this, where you have to full suspend every stick, you have to clean up, do the things that you have to do and protect reproduction and turn out something that you consider to be exceptional, as though only probably 5% of the people can do it 100% of the time.
Bringing logs across a stream buffer like that, there's always concern that you're going to break tops or break limbs out, that you're going to lose load and have it go down into the RMA. I think it's even a bigger issue when it's large timber like this, just because of the weight. And they did a great job. They got it across. That RMA looks pristine. It looks great.
I think he exceeded our goals here. I'm very impressed with the buffer with the full suspension over the top. We did open about a 1 acre hole on the far side in the 20-year-old reproduction. Silvicultural boys thought that was well in line with what we promised them. His buffers are outstanding. His cleanup's outstanding. His communication line is quite good. Be quite truthful, if the guy had 10 or 12 independent contractors like Fred, I might be out of work.
Yeah, I'd say this unit that's been nominated, this operation that was nominated, really lies on the high end of the spectrum of whether it just meets the requirements or if it exceeds it or does a really exceptional job. And I would say it falls in that upper end of that. It is a very good looking unit post-harvest.
I think the end results really turned out well.
My guess is the fish probably don't even know something happened. It looks really good.